Fair enough. T1 moves Ska back to the main roster. So T1 is a spicy one because we've seen a lot of changes there. So you got Brax, AZK, Skadoodle, Dazed. You got Spyder as well, joined on October 14th.
Awesome. Yeah.
So what do we make of this roster? How about it?
Well,
is this a winning roster?
Yeah,
we did.
I mean,
but
we saw them this past weekend. I think they looked kind of slow. But that's not like a, oh my gosh, this team is already done. It's just like this is the first time they're playing together, you know. I'm happy for those who don't know who Spyder is. It's Sayaplayer from Overwatch. Again, we know that he can click heads. I think the more interesting thing will be whether the transition goes smoothly, especially on this team, because this is a kind of a weird team to insert him on because it's so CS focused, you know?
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it in the way, and again, like, I don't want to draw too much from the Renegades Invitational because it wasn't like a major tournament. We had a ton of the top teams that were missing, right? But it didn't seem, it kind of seemed like they were like, okay, set up here and do your thing, and we're gonna play really slow, and we're gonna play kind of reactive, and it didn't look super great. But again, that's their first tournament. So I'm really curious to see how he does here, because he never really found a home. Like, he was someone who's like super hyped up from his performance over in South Korea, came to Overwatch League, that never really came to fruition or translated into like actual wins for the teams he was on when he was starting, specifically Florida. So, you know, I want to see him do well in another game because I think he's a good kid. His English is actually pretty good. Like, I did an entire interview with him in English once, so I don't think that shouldn't be a problem, although communication is probably still going to be an issue initially. But yeah, I mean, they looked kind of slow, in my opinion. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that, but it really seemed like they were kind of just like, okay, do your thing here, and we're going to set up, and then...
Wasn't that T1's challenge always, though? Like, always a big concern with them was that they were slow?
That's been their issue.
I think I think they're much improved, though. I think just looking at Scott on Jet, he looked revitalized. Obviously, I mean, look at the NA leaderboards. He's in the top 10. He looks really good on that Jet. He looks like when he was playing the Sage operator and when he was playing the Sova operator was better, but I always felt like he looked kind of, I don't want to say washed. I think he looked unenthused. He looked very stoic, wasn't making the big plays. He had a few good rounds, but he wasn't the Ska that you were hoping for. You were looking for the world champion Ska. And he looked a lot better and more confident. The confidence was there on the Jet. I think with time, Dazed shot calling, Dazed didn't have an absolutely amazing first run for T1, but I think his main goal is to get this team better equipped when it comes to shot calling and coordination. And also, Spyder is the real deal. His aim is nutty. He had so many long-range sheriff kills. Like, this guy's aim is up there, probably some of the best in Valorant today. So the pieces are there. Like we talked about before with T1, where there was a lot of pieces on the board, a lot of good pieces, but they didn't make sense together. I think these 5 players actually fit well together. It's just now, getting the marination and getting the time and getting, these players to rep each end of the spectrum and to kind of get them a setup better for our success, right? Where, yes, they did play slow. There was a lot of retakes where they kind of just gave up, where they didn't really fight 2v. Like, when they had 2v3, they would kind of just be like, okay, you have it, we're gonna back off. I think that comes with time. More coordination, obviously. With Sayaplayer, Spyder now coming into Overwatch League, not the most practice coming in. Very similar to the FaZe boys when they had their first tournament, where they also looked kind of discoordinated. Where it was a lot more hero ball, where you would have those hero plays by Corey, by Raucus, but together they didn't look very coordinated. I think T1's very similar, where I give them a month, give them 2 months. With this roster, and I think Dazed shot calling and the entire team, we're going to see a lot better play from them, because Spyder's the real deal. Like, just from watching him play a few matches, his aim is nutty. And when you have players like Skadoodle, a confident Skadoodle, and Brax looking very comfortable on that anchor role on that Cypher, this team has a lot of legs to them. So not the greatest first run. We'll talk about Renegades tournament in a bit, but I think this team has the right combination to work. I don't know if it's going to result in them being a top 3 team, especially with how dense the current NA scene is, but there's a chance. When before that teams didn't fit together, there wasn't a leader, there wasn't a shot caller, their schedule looked out of place, didn't have that confidence. Now that Ska's back in that main operator role, has that confidence on that jet, and you have Dazed shot calling with a superstar aimer in Spyder, there's a chance this team could be great.
Yeah, so, I feel like this team plays too much like the game is Counter-Strike. I think that needs to change. I think it comes with reps, but to your point about pace, Emily, I think that you're correct, and I think that is because they are XCS people in most instances. Yeah, I think that like that's the way you play Counter-Strike. You play really slow, you play really tactical and methodic, and I feel like I said earlier in the show, Valorant is changing in a way that is not going to be that playstyle worked at the very beginning of the game when we saw T1 were really damn good because they just had better aim than everyone else. I feel like that will not be the playstyle as we get to the highest level of Valorant in the future years. So yeah.
Well, what we need to do is force them to play deathmatch on Icebox over and over again.
Near and dear to my heart. Near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love that idea.